right.
Hey family, it's your girl, Boss B, and welcome to the Ask a Bee Show, the place where your letters come to life. Every day, people write in with real questions about life, love, and everything in between. And together, we find hope, healing, and a whole lot of honesty. Because here on Ask a Bee, we don't just talk about problems, we talk about possibilities. So grab your tea, open your heart, and let's buzz into today's letters right here on the Ask a Bee Show.
And here I am talking with no mic again. Good Lord. I am so glad that there's just one person in here. It's been a day, y'all, but I'm trying to start this with a really good day. So we're going to start over. Uh, Welcome back, y'all. Okay. Now, let me start. The show, this show was built from the ground up on honesty and curiosity and humor and chaos and truth. And, you know, the simple idea that sometimes people just need a place to be heard. Hi, Niecy. Love you, plus, sister. Pardon my faux pas this morning. Or this afternoon, I suppose. They are just, I'm getting kicked in the gut today. It's been a morning. But anyway, so every day, people out there carry stories inside them that never really get spoken about, or worries that never get shared, and little tiny victories that nobody around them really notices. And in a world where everyone is exhausted, overstimulated, and overwhelmed, pick me, and stretched thin, it can feel totally impossible to find a moment where someone actually sits down, looks you in the metaphorical eyes, and says, "Go ahead, I'm listening." But that's what this show is meant to be about. Okay. And it's like a pause, a breath, a space where real people with, real emotions can finally say the things that have been sitting in their chest for far too long. And, dear Abby, she's been gone for a while. So here's Ask a Bee. Like that play on words, too. Now, pardon me. Today, instead of diving into new letters or heavy stories or fresh problems, I need a break. We're taking a very different path today. Today is Thank You Letters Friday. I think that's what we're going to have from now on, because I've gotten quite a few so far. And I'm kind of over the moon about it. The truth is, this sounds kind of soft and kind of sentimental, or maybe simple, but it's not. It's powerful. Almost nobody circles back these days. Okay. Big Jack started doing that, and I was thinking about that myself. So when I get these letters and I read them, I will also send them. Please, if you can watch and you don't mind, I would love to hear what you thought of my answer. And I'm receiving. And it's pretty cool. People vent, but they don't follow up. People ask, but they don't tell you what happened afterwards. People take your time, your energy, your emotions and effort, and then they just disappear. Not because they're ungrateful, mind you, but because life is loud and messy and chaotic. And, gratitude often gets drowned by noise. So today, I'm going to turn it around a little bit, turn the noise down. I'm going to let gratitude speak for a change. Uh, Big Jack's the inspiration with those wonderful videos that he has of these wonderful people that we've had for guests in the Iron Sharpening Iron universe. And, you know, it was a really cool idea, and he's got videos. Now, my letters are anonymous. That's why these are just more letters. But it's still pretty priceless in both respects. Pardon me, I'm so dry today. This weather is crazy in Texas. Bipolar, tripolar, all that above. Okay, so these thank you letters, they aren't just appreciation messages for me. They're echoes from past moments, right? But they're the kind of follow-ups that show what really happens after someone hears the truth they needed. They're tiny windows into the impact that words can actually have, the part we rarely get to see. And, well, I'll be honest, it's really easy to forget that your voice ever reaches anyone. When you talk to into the void sometimes, because sometimes that zero is there, and that's okay too, because that just means somebody's out there waiting to see me. Okay. But when you go live day after day with people popping in and out, when you pour out your heart to strangers who might never type a word in the chat, it can start to feel like nobody is actually listening. Now, I have some really great people that come in and they will absolutely say hello to me like my blessed sister, and I have a few other, extended family members out there. But sometimes, these letters, they're proof that somebody is actually listening, and they're proof that something that you said landed exactly where it needed to be. That is so important. Now, think about how often you wish someone would come back and say, hey, that thing you did, it matters to me. Okay. How often you wish someone in your real life would say, I noticed how much you're carrying. Thank you. Maybe just thank you would be great. How often you wish people would follow up with kindness instead of silence. And, we don't get that enough. Most of us live entire lives giving far more than we ever get in return. So today, the scale tips a little bit, even if just for an hour. And hopefully I can do this once a week too. And I just think it's important that we get to listen together and hear what it sounds like when people come back, when they acknowledge the help, when they breathe easier because of something that I said. And this is great for me because I needed somebody to hear my voice too, and it's starting to happen, and now I have proof. So it's pretty awesome. So let me tell you something about the people who wrote these letters first. Okay, they didn't have to. I told them they didn't have to. And they could have moved right on with their week, or they could have not liked what I had to say. Okay. They could have kept their improvements private, or they could have stayed quiet. I don't know, the way so many people do. But listen, they sat down and they put real words to real progress. They chose to speak up again, not out of need, but out of gratitude. And that makes today pretty special. Now, because this is the part most creators never get to hear, most hosts never see the follow up, most shows never really get the thank you. But today we're reading exactly those messages, the ones that prove connection is still alive. So let's just settle in, breathe a little deeper, let your shoulders drop a little, allow yourself to receive something you may not have felt in a while. Appreciation. I'm totally coaching myself right now. So it's not the fake kind, that's for sure. It's not forced, most definitely, because I have a hard time asking for those kind of things. And it's not somebody clapping because they think they should. It's genuine gratitude from voices who felt hurt and felt supported and felt lighter because of something that happened on my show. All right. So, this is the part you never get in real life, the part you deserve. And today you're going to hear it, every word of it. But we are not going to move away from our new pattern. Before we jump into that, beautiful, beautiful thank you letters. I'm so ready for this. But these moments of reflection and ripple effects and quiet proof that connection still matters. I just want us to warm the room up a little bit, because even on a day filled with gratitude, there's something comforting about having a familiar rhyme to the show, I guess, or rhythm, both. um, and for me, that rhythm is trivia. I didn't forget. That's fun part. I love this one. And not the shallow kind, of course. Not the what color is Elvis toothbrush. No, but the kind that tugs at music history, maybe at culture, at the wild, messy, magical stories behind the songs that have shaped, gosh, generations. Trivia is more than a fun fact for me. It's a bridge between the letters, a breath between emotions, and a reminder that we all share memories rooted in music. Moments where a single note or lyric can change everything, right? Music history is such a powerful way to reset energy, especially in, a smaller, even large room. Just think about it. Every generation has those icons, those performances, unforgettable nights where someone did something so bold, so unexpected, but the head off of a bat. So electrifying that it rewired the entire industry. Okay. I love my Aussie, y'all. Pardon me. Oh, but what I love about weaving music trivia into the show is that it connects perfectly to what Askaby has always been about: stories. And to share it with Big Jack Storytime, because his universe, it's all about your stories, right? And music, it really tells stories. Performances tell stories. Artists, they tell their stories through performances. And, they don't even have to say a word sometimes. And sometimes one split second on a stage becomes a moment that the world remembers forever. So that's why trivia fits so beautifully into today. We're about to read letters that sit on the other side of healing, clarity, and gratitude, moments that reflect on something that happened days ago. Okay. We haven't had very many shows. So to have this turnaround is amazing for me. And when you hear about a legendary performance, you're not hearing it as it happens, you're hearing it what it became. Like a ripple or a legacy. Ozzy, he has a lot of legacy, right? So the reason people still talk about it, just like these letters, those moments didn't end when the curtain dropped. They grew legs and walked into the future, literally. And honestly, it's a perfect emotional balance for where we're going today. Because if we were to jump straight into these thank you letters without giving ourselves a second to breathe, the emotions would probably slap us in the face. At least me. So these letters are heavy, not sad, okay, but meaningful, deep, full of perspective, and full of vulnerability, and people saying what you said mattered. And that requires some space in my head. So trivia gives me that space, and it's a way of gently stretching my mind before delivering something heartfelt and personal. So, there's also something powerful about remembering that even legends, the biggest names in music, had moments where they shocked the world. They stumbled, they soared, they messed up, they reinvented themselves, and in some cases, set their damn guitars on fire because they had something to say. We forget those things. And I mean, the other day, Walt, he's like, oh, wow, he didn't know that. We're talking about Walt Talks here. He knows everything, don't he? Come on, guys. But yeah, that was a good moment for me. That was a wow moment, a real wow moment for me. And it just, it goes to show this is what I love to do. Talk about music and music history. And yet here we are talking about this again. But we forget the humanity behind iconic moments, and yet decades later still talking about them the same way that we talk about the letters that changed someone's week. Both are moments of expression that stay with us long after the moment is gone. Anyway, so before we open the vault of gratitude and step into the deeper water of today's letter, let's take a moment to step into the stage of history and revisit a performance that became one of the most talked about, studied, and unforgettable moments in rock and roll history. It was a moment where the stage wasn't just a platform, it was a battleground, a canvas, and a fire pit. And the artist standing on it changed everything with one bold act and still leaves people in awe. So, where is my question at? I've lost it. Here you go. Here it is. So, which rock legend? Oh, hold up. Yes, there it is. I don't know why I've got two of them up here. Which rock legend is known as the godmother of rock and roll for pioneering electric guitar riffs before the 1950s? Okay. And I don't know what happened to my stuff. I guess I know what happens now, Big Jack, because that one's gone too. All right. We're just going to put it up there like that. There we go. All right. Think about it. We'll get back to it. Y'all just hold on to that. Okay. So I still want to go ahead and do a funny letter before we do the thank you letters. The thank you letters are a little shorter, so I'm trying to fill time. That's how we do here. But goodness, I just want to keep things on the lighter side today. I really need it. These have been pretty heavy for me. Pardon me. So it's become, I don't know, a lot harder to deal with. Can you give me 1 second, please? I'm so sorry. My dogs. Anyway. Okay. Oh, I got my Beyonce going on over here. Y'all know I'm over 50. I got to have my fan. So hear my hair just whipping in the wind. Beyonce, y'all. Okay. Not quite Beyonce. Love that lady, but not quite Beyonce. Alrighty. So, yeah, before we get into the thank you letters, we're going to go ahead and keep things on a lighter side. I think we all need a break because this has been pretty heavy. And this week, it's really put me through a bit. So I thought this was so perfect for today. Even if I only had one, I was going to do this today. But before we get deep, before we get reflective and into the heart stuff, let's take a quick detour into the very real struggle that so many of us know too well. Trying and failing to get our own family to support our YouTube channel. If you ever begged someone in your house to just give you one click, just one like, one pity view, you're going to feel this one. Let's get into it. All right. Okay, B, I'm writing this letter because I'm officially out of options and I need professional help. Why are you writing me? I'm not qualified, y'all. At least the closest thing to it. Okay, there you go. Which at this point is you. Oh, okay. Y'all, remember I'm not a professional, okay? I begged, bribed, threatened, offered them food, promised them favors, even tried emotional blackmail. If you love me, you would click. This sounds familiar. Nothing. Not a single view. My mom literally said, I'll watch it later. And somehow later has turned into 2 years, 3 holidays, and 4 birthdays. Yeah, this is a younger one. All right, last week, I even tried to sneak my channel onto the living room TV. Oh, honey, that's not the way to do it. I grabbed the remote, pulled up YouTube, hit play, and you know what happened? My own family booed me. They booed me like I was a football team that just dropped the ball on the 1 yard line. Why are you sending this letter to me? Okay, my husband, we're not that young. My husband acted like the remote was burning his hand. My kids sprinted out of the room like I was forcing them to do chores. And my sister said, can we watch literally anything else? Literally anything else. They would rather watch a 7-hour documentary on the history of ceiling fans than give me 1 minute of their time. Then I tried the accidental approach. Oh, no. No. You must be a newlywed. Okay, casually leaving my own video playing on the TV while I pretend to walk away. But no, one of them literally changed the input to HDMI and said, there, I fixed it. Fixed what? My career? My future? My one dream? Oh, Lord. At this point, I'm convinced my family thinks my YouTube channel is some kind of contagious disease. They're afraid if they click one video, they'll be forced to watch the rest. And don't even get me started on them hitting the like button. Why do these people expect these things from their family? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, okay. So B, what do I do? Get a new family. I'm just kidding. How do I get the people who live under my roof, the people who share my genes, to support the one thing I actually care about? Because if this keeps up, I'm going to start charging them rent and views. Signed, Invisible, on my own Wi-Fi. Oh, wow, lady. First of all, I really want to thank you for writing this, because I swear this letter could have been written by half the creators on this platform, probably. The struggle of family support. I mean, we've talked about this all week long, have we not? Pardon me. Your family's behavior makes about as much sense as a screen door on a submarine, because these people will watch strangers do the dumbest things online for hours and hours. Next day, wash, rinse, repeat. Okay. But they won't give their own flesh and blood a 60-second view. Make it make sense. Here's the truth. They'll never admit out loud. Family is the last group to support you. You got to get over it. You just got to get over it. Pardon me. Really. Always has been that way. Always will be that way. They'll brag about you to other people. Okay. But actually watching your stuff, no. And we all know who the exception here is on this one. I just thought this thing was funny. That would require attention, and that would require hitting one single solitary button with their thumb or forefinger, whichever, And apparently that's too much cardio. So what's really happening though? They still see you the same way they always have. Just talked about this one, as the person who lives in the house, eats their snacks, leaves dishes in the sink. They don't see a content creator. They don't see running a channel. And they definitely see, why are you yelling into your phone again? And because they don't take it seriously, they treat your channel like it's optional entertainment instead of the work you're actually building. So what do? Stop trying. Stop giving them the power to determine your value, and stop chasing their views. You stop thinking their clicks will validate you. They're not going to validate you. Don't chase them. Because here's the secret. Every successful creator eventually learns. Your supporters will not come from the people you know. Nope. Your supporters come from the people who find you. Okay? Look what found me. Hi, Big Jack. Good timing. So let the family keep booing you like you're the halftime show. I mean, that they didn't ask for, but it's fine. Because I promise you this, the day your channel hits a milestone, the day you blow up, go viral, the day you get recognized and monetized and blow up, okay? The day that somebody else praises you, your entire family will magically turn into your PR team, okay? You'll have a manager and a chauffeur and all that stuff. Here, let me take you to your first gig. They'll be the first one saying, my daughter's a YouTuber. I always knew they'd make it. Oh, gosh. Yeah, we watch all her videos. Lies. Absolute lies. Still an exception. Okay. But you know what? Let them have it. Okay? Because your success here is, it won't come because of them. Okay? It's going to come in spite of them. And then what? And when that moment hits, make sure you charge extra rent in views. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. That's some crazy stuff now. I thought that was kind of fun. Okay. We're going to start on our thank you letters. Fun. Dear B, I wasn't sure whether to write this or not, because the last time I sent something into the show, I felt like I was rambling my way through a confession. I didn't really want anyone to hear. You might remember me. I was the woman who wrote about feeling like I was stuck in the background of my own life. hmm I remember. The one who talked about how my family kept overlooking everything that I did. How nothing I contributed seemed to matter, and how I felt like the designated fixer rather than an actual person with dreams and heartbeat. I wrote to you on a day when I was exhausted from carrying everybody else's responsibilities while mine just sat in the corner gathering dust like they weren't important enough to be picked up by anyone, including me. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. Okay, it was one of the most vulnerable things I've done in years. And when I hit send, I honestly regretted it for about 5 seconds until I heard you read it. You didn't rush me. You didn't treat my feelings like an inconvenience. And you didn't try to turn my pain into a pretty slogan. Not here, lady. No, no, not here. You sat with it, you unpacked it, and you offered an answer that felt like the first real explanation I'd heard in a long time, not a dismissal. I'm going to stop here for a second because I want to say, I wanted, oh, hello, Miss Ron. Good to see you. I'm so happy you're here. Okay, what I was saying is, um, I read some of the letters. Read through the first part of the letters. I wanted this to be a genuine reaction. I have not read this far down, and I have 3 letters to read. I hope I can get to all 3 of them. No, I won't get to all 3 of them. Y'all may be here for a second, but I haven't read all the way through these. I'm already a little bit overwhelmed here. Just know that I'm not gonna cry. I promise, plus sister. Okay, but this is gonna be a raw reaction. Okay, uh, here we go. And you offered an answer that felt like the first real explanation I'd heard in a long time. Not a dismissal, not a just be stronger, not a you'll be okay, but a genuine breakdown of why people like me, people who give and give until we're hollow, end up overlooked simply because we're the ones who hold everything together. You explained it in a way that made sense. Thank you. In a way that I could actually feel. And for the first time, I didn't feel invisible. Okay, Nisi, I might cry. Wow. What surprised me the most, though, was what happened after the episode aired. I didn't expect a shift. Oh, but something inside me loosened. That tight little knot I'd been carrying around in my chest for months started to unravel. Your answer made me look at myself differently, not in a dramatic, overnight change kind of way, but in a quiet, steady, maybe I deserve a seat at my own table kind of way. Ooh. I didn't suddenly become confident or fearless or self-assured, but I did start paying attention to how much of myself I'd been shrinking to make room for everyone else. Amen, sis. It made me think about all the times I backed down, all the times I stayed silent, all the times I let people treat my energy like an unlimited resource, and for once, I didn't blame myself for it. I understood it. That is what I needed to hear. I'm so happy to hear that for you. You told me something that stuck with me. People don't notice the foundation until it cracks. And B, that hit me harder than anything else because I'd been cracking quietly for years and nobody noticed, but you did, even though you didn't know me. That's what this is about. Since then, I've started making changes, not big, dramatic declarations, just small, steady boundaries. I've stopped immediately jumping in to fix everything. I've let a few things stay broken just long enough for people who created the mess to realize I wasn't coming to rescue them this time. And you know what? The world didn't fall apart. Amen. The sky didn't crash. People didn't suddenly turn on me. If anything, it made them pay attention. Yes, baby girl. Yes. It made them realize I was more than the default cleanup crew. It made them see me as someone who mattered in the room and not just the person keeping the room functional. Hell yeah. I wanted to say thank you, sincerely, for helping me see myself again. Thank you for reading my letter like it wasn't silly. Never. Nothing is ever silly here, okay? Thank you for answering me like I was worth the time. Thank you for making me feel like I wasn't alone in the quiet corners of my own life. Your show didn't fix my world, but it changed the way I moved through it. And sometimes that's even more powerful. With gratitude, I didn't know how to express until now. Still learning to stand in my own light. Amen, sis. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't read all the way through these because we are sharing this together at this moment. And this is what needed to happen. And I just want y'all to know, y'all are the reason I'm here. Y'all are the reason why I'm doing any of this. Because if I can give you even the tiniest little bit of hope, it's all yours. Absolutely all yours. And I will do it over and over and over again. Oh my goodness. Whew. So, okay, first of all, thank you. My goodness, thank you. Not just for writing back, but for trusting me with your story, trusting yourself, enough to step into this space again, a second time. That's phenomenal. You are phenomenal. Yes, Maya, I hear you. Wow. What you just what you just shared isn't small, okay? It isn't casual. Oh, it's not, oh, that was nice kind of moment. What you wrote is, oh my gosh, the kind of reflection people spend years trying to articulate. I try, and I never do. I mean, I feel like, well, maybe I do. That's why I got a second letter. But wow. And I want to honor that by giving you an answer that meets you exactly where you are, not where people think you should be. Okay. Not where your family expected you to be, and not where you forced yourself to be. Okay. To be for everyone else's convenience. You are finally starting to be your you. But what struck me most about your original letter wasn't the exhaustion, though it was clear. It was very clear. It was the grief, because there is a very particular grief that comes from being the one who holds it all together. It's the grief of watching everyone benefit from your strength while you never acknowledging the weight. And it's heavy. And it's the grief of realizing that people around you have grown comfortable with your sacrifice. It's also the grief of knowing you become dependable before you ever got the chance to be seen. Thank you, Big Jack. Yes, please hit the like button. It just slowly drains you until you don't remember what it felt like to be held instead of holding everyone else. And when I answered your first letter, I wasn't trying to give you a life lesson. I was trying to give you language, if that makes sense. Because when you've spent years swallowing your hurt, you forget how to put it into words. And the moment you heard your truth reflected back to you, something clicked. Not because I said something magical, but because you finally heard your own feelings spoken out loud without shame. And I think that's what opened the door for everything that came after, don't you? Not my advice, really, but your recognition. And you finally saw yourself, not as the background worker or family glue, or the fixer, but as a human being who has a breaking point, a voice, and needs that really matter, okay? And I want to tell you something I think that will feel uncomfortable, but it's true. You didn't start setting boundaries. You finally stopped abandoning yourself. Okay? That's what you're describing here. Those small changes you mentioned, those weren't boundaries. Those were acts of self-rescue. You showed up for yourself in ways nobody ever showed up for you. And that's why everything shifted. Not because other people became better, but because you finally stopped shrinking to make their lives easier. Let's talk about that foundation line you mentioned, okay? Because it's more than a metaphor. Foundations don't get applause. Nobody stands in a new home saying, wow, look at that concrete. Okay, people praise the paint colors, the lighting, the pretty parts, the knickknacks, all that stuff. But if the foundation cracks, the entire house is suddenly in crisis. You've been the foundation for so many people that they forgot you had edges, limits, and structure that needed support too. And when you finally let a few things stay broken, even for just a minute, those people got a wake-up call. And then you existed and you mattered. You are not an endless resource, okay? And I want you to hear this clearly, very clear. You don't owe anyone an apology for needing balance or an explanation for finally stepping back. And you most certainly don't owe anyone guilt for reclaiming energy that was never theirs to take in the first place, okay? Your growth didn't come from becoming stronger. You were already strong. Your growth, it came from finally realizing strength doesn't mean martyrdom, okay? Strength doesn't mean silence or disappearing so others can shine. Strength is exactly what you're doing now, and that's taking up space. If your first letter was the crack, this thank you letter is the rebuild. And the version of you who is emerging, that's someone who knows her worth, not because the world finally applauded, but because she finally stopped waiting for them to. You did this. I just handed you a mirror. This is all you, baby girl. And I'm proud of you. You go do your thing. You got this. Okay? Whew. I can't tell you if I'm going to get to all three today. That's pretty amazing, though. I mean, Big Jack, I can imagine how you felt when you received those videos. This is my moment like that, and this is pretty amazing. It really is. I don't know. I'm thinking I might save one for next Friday and we just do this every Friday. Have a thank you letter instead. Because this felt pretty good and I don't want to move away from it. It's just beautiful. I'm so thankful that I can do anything for anyone. I mean, even if it's just putting the mirror in front of you, that's my whole point, right? So I think we're just going to go ahead and move on to the trivia. And before, I will reveal that answer, I want to take a moment and honor what we just walked through together, okay? Because these thank you letters weren't surface letter level updates. Oh my gosh. They were glimpses into what happens when someone hears their own truth spoken out loud and finally allows themselves to shift because of it. Every letter to this past 2 weeks, they all carry a different kind of growth. Someone finds their voice. Someone finds permission to evolve. Courage to receive something good without pushing it away. Those are not small things. They're not filler. That's the heart of what Ask a Bee was meant to be. A place where people can come back with honesty, not embarrassment, and say, here's what changed after you saw me. Now that we've held this story, now that we sat in it and what it means to grow in real time, I want to just go ahead and slide. I'm sorry. This letter got me, y'all. Wow. Because, if there's, okay, I want to slide gently back into our music roots for the night, because if there's anything that mirrors the emotional journey we just took, it's the way music history is built. Now, I think it was built kind of quietly, courageously, and overlooked pioneer at times, right? Today's trivia question was exactly that, a reminder of how many foundations were laid, by people the world didn't bother giving credit to until like much later. And it ties perfectly into tonight's theme too, being undervalued, being underestimated, and still choosing to show up anyway. So let's bring it full circle. Earlier I asked, I'm sorry, my throat is so dry today. It could be the weather. It could be all this talking I've done for 2 weeks. Okay, here we go. Which rock legend is known as the godmother of rock and roll for pioneering electric guitar riffs before the 1950s? Do, 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 do. Ha, ha, ha. I know, I'm silly. So, let's talk about this lady who shaped the very foundation of rock and roll music long before anyone knew her name. Okay. Yeah, I'm so messed up right now. What is this thing? Okay, the answer to the trivia question, the pioneer, the blueprint, the woman whose fingerprints are all over rock music, even if most people don't realize it, is Sister Rosetta Tharpe. And if you've never heard that name before, don't feel bad. You're not alone. In fact, that's part of the tragedy and the beauty of her story. She wasn't just ahead of her time. She was so far ahead that the world didn't have the language or the imagination to understand what she was doing until decades later. Now, Sister Rosetta was a gospel singer who didn't just sing about faith. She electrified it, literally. And she was one of the very first musicians to take the electric guitar, plug it in, crank it up, and create the kind of sound people today would recognize instantly as early rock and roll. She mixed gospel, blues, swing, soul, and I mean with ferocity of joy that made crowds go wild, right? She had this stage presence, pardon me, confident, playful, unbothered, absolutely unbothered, that made it clear she wasn't waiting for anybody's approval. Okay. And her guitar style, man, it was not gentle, not at all. It wasn't delicate by any means. She attacked those strings with the kind of energy you would later see like in Chuck Berry or Elvis Presley or Jerry Lee Lewis and every other rock icon who built their careers on the foundation. She poured it. And here's the kicker: those men watched her. They learned from her. They studied her sound, her showmanship, her riffs. There's actual footage of her performing on a train platform in England in the 1960s, where some of the very bands who would go on to shape the British rock revolution were standing there like starstruck teenagers and watching her in awe. She didn't just influence rock, she birthed it basically. She became, wow, but because she was a Black woman in an era that refused to acknowledge brilliance unless it came from someone who fit the mold, her legacy was buried under decades of erasure. And that ties beautifully into everything we talked about tonight. All these letters from people who've been the backbone, the foundation, the unseen workers, the ones whose contributions get overlooked, not because they're small, but because people became too comfortable with their strength. Sister Rosetta Tharpe lived that reality long before the rest of us even understood the language for it. She wasn't invisible because she was brilliant. She was invisible because brilliance in her body wasn't valued the way brilliance is in somebody else's body. We don't like that part. But make no mistake, she is the godmother of rock and roll. She is the blueprint, and she is the origin story for the world forgot to tell. And today, we're giving her spotlight back, not a footnote, but as the legend that she always was. So, before we wrap up, I want to gather all of that energy, excuse me, and oh, pardon me. I want to gather all that energy because I may need it later. It's baby butt weekend. But the letters, the growth, the history, the healing, and bring it into one final moment of reflection as we transition into ending the show. Because what we're about to close with isn't just a sign off, it's a reminder, okay, of what you carry with you when the episode ends: your worth, your voice, your courage to evolve, and your right to be seen, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. Okay. Now, as I close, I want to speak directly to every single person who felt something stir while listening, whether it was a memory, a truth you've been avoiding, or a reminder of the strength that you didn't realize was still in you. Okay. Tonight wasn't just about, or today, pardon me, wasn't just about answering letters. It wasn't even about the gratitude written back to us. It was about witnessing people reclaim pieces of themselves that, they've lost, forgotten, or that they just don't think they're worthy. That matters. That means something. And if you're still, sorry, distractions, stop. And if you're sitting there right now thinking, I wish I had the courage to write in, I promise you, your voice belongs here too. Okay. The thank you letters, the one we heard today, it's not just an update, it's a reflection of transformation. Each one of these will show how powerful a single moment of being understood can be when someone feels or finally stops shrinking, when someone finally realizes they don't need to apologize for evolving, or even the smallest bit of love or kindness, that's when the healing begins. And if you're listening to this thinking you're too late or too stuck or too broken, you're not. You're not. You're exactly where your next chapter begins. Okay. And the truth is, we need these conversations. We need spaces where people can be raw, honest, and a little messy and completely real. Okay. That's why Ask a Bee exists. Not to fix you, not to preach to you, but to walk with you through the parts of yourself you keep tucked away. And if today reminded you that you matter, even a little, then this hour was worth every second I put in. Before I say goodbye, I also want to shout out to the incredible community and all the shows that make up the Iron Sharpening Iron universe, the conversations, the collaborations, the spin-offs, the lives, the stories, gosh, the laughter. It's a blast. I'm having a blast. The serious moments, the growth, the guidance, all of it. You already know. The Iron Sharpening Iron Show, Gentleman's Journal, Ladies Diary, We Be Jammin', Ask a Bee, all of it. Coach's Corner. Don't forget Voices of Resilience coming up real quick. All right? Every one of these shows exists because people like you show up, participate, grow, and keep this universe alive. And it means everything to all of us. So make sure you're subscribed. Stay connected, okay? And don't miss out on what's coming next. The family, the real one, okay? The built one here, right here. It's only getting stronger. Hashtag grow and glow. Drop it everywhere. It's true. It's happening. It's a movement. And as Big Jack says, with all of that said, thank you for spending your time, your hearts, your attention here with me today. Thank you for trusting this space with your stories and your truth. Thank you for showing up for yourselves, even when the world doesn't always show up for you. This has been Ask a Bee, where your words matter, your voice matters, and your growth never goes unnoticed. Until tomorrow, 12 noon Central Time. Keep writing, keep healing, and keep choosing yourself, please. Good night, guys. I'm going to bed now.